Oh, great, intergovernmental agreement amendment. Oh, I thought that was one of the counties. That was
Oh, for the MRF.
Calco Township.
Why did we do it for Co Township and none of the other townships?
We have an agreement with them to do it. Mhm. So we have continued to through that agreement. Great question for the Director Nicola.
Who's gonna get it? Oh, I went to a township meeting last Wednesday.
We
Yeah.
are live and on YouTube right now, just so
Yeah.
just in case the
The tone was going
flavor
there.
of that was not for YouTube, because I would know.
Okay, I'd like to open the Human Resources and Public Works Committee this morning. Could we get approval of the
You
agenda?
sure can. I'd like to approve the agenda as such.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as such. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes carry. We have an agenda and our first item is call to the public. Hi. Tim,
Morning.
no public.
There is not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then at this time, Cindy, Community Development Director, will break down the first item, which is consider approving Isabella County Community Development Department fee schedules for land use and housing numbering, residential projects and industrial and commercial projects, and the GIS data processing and development and plotter fees effective June 1st, 2024. What do we got, Tim?
Yeah, so good morning. So in our process of this budgeting this year, one of the items that I looked at within my office when I came was our fee structures. Just where are we with regard to revenue? We don't generate a ton of revenue by any means, but as we know, every dollar counts right now. So I did an analysis to just kind of take a look at the services that the individuals within the department are providing. And then took a look back at what the cost of the fee or the cost of the service was, so that we knew whether the fee was there or not. So we did make adjustments. We have several classifications of fees, but the first one being our land use fees. It's been since 2013 that we've updated those, with the exception of adding fees for both turbine projects and solar projects, which we added sort of as addendums to our fee structure. Those fees include, right, well, I thought I had them in order, that's what I do. Those fees include zoning permits, home occupations, administrative site plan reviews, planning commission site plan reviews, special land uses. So this page, all the way through to Appendix B, are the fees under land use and under addressing, the second piece. This is kind of our normal office fee structure that we have. Zoning permits, for example, we're at $50. The person that is reviewing those applications, driving in the car, utilizing our BS&A software, printing the paper that's posted on site, is a $50 an hour employee. Roughly, with benefits. And so we're barely just covering his hourly rate for him to provide that service, let alone the gas, the vehicle, all the other costs that are associated with it. So we moved that up to $25. So all of these fees moved and were increased from what they were previously. And they did so for those types of reasons, either the individual, or for example, if you look at like special land uses, they went up from, I forget the right number here. Special land uses are currently at 175, so they doubled, they went up to 150. So it costs $200 for us just to advertise in the Morning Sun as required by state law for that public hearing. So we're losing money just on the advertising side. So then we have the employee, then we have the planning commission per diem, which is $270 a meeting. Now there could be several of those at several special uses at one meeting. but that increased our costs for our public hearing notice. So we felt 350 was a fair number. That's going to cover our costs in most instances. So all of these fees for, through that example, of land use were increased, due to those factors. You look at text amendments, they went up to 650. They were down, at that 175 range as well. There's two publications we have to do for that. We have to do a publication for the public hearing. And then once the board adopts the new either language or the new map, we have to do a notice of adoption in the paper again. So we're hitting that public hearing twice at a couple $100 a piece, gets us to 400. So these fees, for the land use and for the house numbering, basically just are being increased to cover costs.
Okay.
All right. And so if I jump through then to the next set of fees, get my papers palm and stuff.
Utility and redwood.
The soil erosion sedimentation control fee. So this is required through Part 91 of the Natural Resource Environmental Protection Act. It's our soil erosion sedimentation control. We're required to do it. We took it over from the drain office back around 10 years or so, 12 years ago, somewhere in that range. We utilized their fee structure all the way through, with the exception of we put turbines onto that fee schedule at the same time, just so that we had a coverage for sedimentation control for turbines. So we're looking same things, we've got application fees. There's some.
It's just, this one's soil erosion for residential and this one's soil erosion for industrial and commercial. Took me a minute to find it. Right.
Yeah, we separated the two. Previously, it was just a single list. It looked like this. And we just separated into residential components and commercial components because we have contractors who are better able to see it visually on our website. So we formatted, as I said in my staff report, these to all look similar, but yet they were independent of one another when it comes to the residential and commercial.
Okay.
So these fees went up again. These are again based on the cost of that employee. Soil erosion is one of those things that you charge a fee for it. You design it, you develop it, you put silt fence in place, and you have to go and visit the site periodically or after every rain event required by law.
Wow, that's a lot.
So yeah, we could go out on a project once, or we could go out on a project 15 times just because of the rain events that come. And it's about erosion control, right? So when it rains, that dirt's gonna move around if it's not anchored with some sort of vegetation. So we've broke these into residential, industrial, commercial, and those fees have went up. And then jumping on to the last group, which is the GIS and data fees. These fees haven't been updated again, and I believe these were in 20. February is 2010. So under our enhanced data access policy, which is policy 212, the county's policy, it's for enhanced data. GIS is an enhanced data source. The board under section G of that document needs to establish fees for this data. We currently did that in February of 2012. And just the data itself didn't get more expensive, but the hardware got more expensive. The software got more expensive. The individual doing the work is more expensive. So we just got to raise those fees up a bit. Again, we don't make a lot of money from this. This is the only fee group that I'm bringing in front of you that is not fees to the general fund. These are fees to the GIS fund itself. All the other fees would impact the general fund and elevate that revenue from our office.
Do more people use GIS now than has been?
Oh yeah, tons. We don't sell a ton of data. I mean, we sell like $5,000 worth of data a year. So it's not a lot that we're actually selling, but the utilization of it. Yesterday, when I was sitting in our meeting we were here for yesterday, I was sitting next to the sheriff and I elbowed him once because he had fetch up and he was going, he was going through and looking at something that he had just got a call on. So it's neat to be sitting next to somebody who's actually using it in practicality while I'm sitting there being able to see it. So we do utilize it a ton. We just sold a data set the other day. Our LiDAR data is one of the data sets we sell the most. And it's usually to architect and design people for stormwater issues. So they buy it, they see elevations, they can design things for individual property owners. And most of that's happening in and around the city where we're seeing most of our industrial or commercial development happen. But they are purchasing it. it's relatively inexpensive what we sell it for now.
Mhm.
And it really isn't covering costs of our hardware software.
But it kind of feeds into the development, right?
Absolutely,
Yes.
100% brings that development, rolls that back around. Again, we utilize something that we've put out there to increase our tax base and to ensure that we're being covered for what it is that we're assisting with. We're assisting with data to help them develop and design a site. That developed and designed site is gonna get on the tax roll and be paying a higher tax to the tax base.
Right.
I'm most familiar with it with enhanced data access, right?
Yep.
That's what we call that.
Yep.
And so a lot of times, some of the FOIAs that we get in admin, we get to interject a fee because they want the countywide data.
Yep.
And it's usually 1,000. Is that what's changing? Is that changing to 4,000 for this, or is that not a part of this fee schedule?
It really
That's a
is not.
different thing.
Yep, that's a totally
Okay.
different thing. So
Okay,
So when we do get FOIAs on data itself, we can charge this fee versus the hourly of the lowest person in the office fee.
right.
Go and find it and attract it. So we can actually, which is why we have to have this. If you have enhanced data and you don't have an enhanced data policy and a fee structure for it, you have to give that data up at that low
Right,
cost, right?
right.
And we're
right.
saying to protect the community, we've invested a lot in this. Why are we gonna give it to Joe Schmo over here for nothing? You know,
Right.
So yeah, it does. This is more the sale for us, or in the event if we're physically FOIA'd for
Okay.
some data here. And
Good.
where did you see the 4,000? Oh, I got you.
In the small, because I was looking for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
1,000 and didn't see it, but I see and that's why I wondered, is the 1,000 raising to the 4,000 in this example?
There is
or-
no 1,000 in the enhanced data access policy.
Charge 1,000, yeah, that's an interesting one.
It could be
Hmm.
something in some other statutory requirement that has
right.
it, but I don't think the enhanced data access policy has a number in it. I know.
Because
that
it references fee schedule.
references a fee
Sure.
schedule established by the county board. Yeah.
Sure, okay,
But
Okay.
these, you'll see, that smaller print under each one of these
yes.
is sort of the discounted rate per data set.
So you don't multiply that by 16.
Right.
Okay,
If you're gonna buy a township from us, it's easy for us to cut a township out. We'll sell you a township's worth. If you wanna buy the whole county's data, we have less processing on our end. We'll give you a break on it.
Yeah.
That's typically what
Oh,
we've done.
okay.
Hmm.
You mean you don't have to take it out?
Yeah, I don't have to pull that out. I don't have to do any processing on the back end for us.
Hmm.
So less work gives them a little bit of a break.
Very interesting.
Okay.
And so we set, like I said, the data fees up top, and then there's a processing and development. Our processing and development fee is $80 an hour. So when we get, like the other day, we had that FOIA, we had not a FOIA request, we had a data request for LiDAR data. That was only $40. So in a half an hour's time, we were able to charge $20. Well, a half an hour of my time or a half an hour of my staff's time is worth
Yeah,
well more than $20. So we had to increase this. We don't get a ton of it, but we do some development. Some people want maps
they're
from
not
us.
gonna stop for that. you
They're
know,
not. That little bit of
like
fee
it.
isn't gonna scare them away from it at all.
Cost of doing business.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it is. And like I said, it isn't so much even that we don't want to aid and assist people and we're raising fees for that purpose. It's our software cost has gone up. You know, our hardware, Michelle just priced out 3 computers for us next year at like $7,000. And it's because the data, these computers have to be a little more robust to be able to work with this kind of data sets. And so our computers are more expensive. Our software is more expensive. We just gotta try to cover our costs. So this whole staff report is based on all the fees in my office, with the exception of the inspection fees, which are a whole separate fund. We did look at those. We feel like those are currently pretty close to in line, but we have a relatively healthy fund balance that we can eat a little bit of that cost right now
Mhm.
to maintain lower fees, just to see if that's the reality over a couple of years. We have the time in that, so.
That's excellent. You gotta cover costs.
Yeah.
Number one,
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't be paying for people
Yeah.
to develop. We can't be paying a piece
Yeah.
of that, right? And, you know, these are looked at in combination with the budget, and they're kind of overlooked because we focus on the budget
Yep.
process, right? So this is a little out of process, but I think that's good. It's been over 10 years.
Mhm.
So
Definitely.
it's due time, and I don't think that these these fees aren't something that people can say are overburdensome.
Yeah.
You know, to the folks who are hurting out there, they're not the ones that are going forth with projects. So
Yeah, that's true.
I think
Right.
it's right size
Yep.
and I applaud you.
It's a user fee on typically these are all user fees
Yes.
on those that are doing, 10 to hundreds of thousands of dollar projects. And to pay that extra $20 or $25 that they were paying before, just to make sure that we
To
cover
cover
costs.
costs, yeah. That's
I think it's
That's
right.
that's how
logical.
taxpayers would want us to
Yeah,
operate,
that's
I would
right.
imagine.
That's right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's that first one, just looking for you to approve those 3 fee structures for us.
Okay, make a motion to consider approving the Isabel County Community Development Department fee schedule for land use and house numbering, residential projects and industrial and commercial projects, and the GIS data processing and development and plottery fees effective June 1st, 2024.
Support. It's been moved and supported to move item 4 to the work and regular sessions of the county commission next week. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Item 4 will be forwarded to next week's meetings. Okay. Our next and final item is consider approving the Co-Township intergovernmental agreement amendment and authorize the board chairman to sign the same.
Again, just back on that last one really quick, and I
Oh, sure.
apologize. I was looking at going October 1, but in my head was like, if we're not covering our fees now, what's the difference? Let's
that's
just move this
exactly
thing
right.
forward. It's not gonna generate us a ton of money through the year, but for the next 4 months, we should be charging it rather than knowing we're giving services away for nothing. So I apologize for not saying
Okay.
that. So this one here is a little bit different. We entered into a contract back in, I think it was 2013, with Co-Township. Co-Township came to us and asked if we would help provide zoning services for them. It was supposed to be a temporary arrangement, and here we are 11 years later, continuing to do it for them. We had not moved our fee structure there at all over time. And I contacted Mary Kay Moss, who is the township supervisor there, and had some discussions with her. She had called as she learned of the county's finance issues, our money issues. She had called me and said, is this a service you're gonna be dumping back to us? We hope not. And I said, no, I don't see us dumping it necessarily back to you, but I do see it as we're gonna have to maybe look at our fee structure because it hasn't been looked at in 10 years. So her and I sat down, came up with some reasonable numbers. We put an amendment together, sent this over to her. Her board approved it already and sent it back.
Great.
The way we get paid from them currently is we get a $300 monthly stipend currently. And we charge $50 per hour for my services and $50 per hour for our planner, GIS analyst services, which is Ray in my office. We also charge them mileage when we have to travel to and from their meetings. And we reimburse them. So their citizens come to us and they pay for a permit for Co-Township. And we give them that revenue back at the end of a month or every 2 months. We turn that revenue back over to them because they're just simply paying us a stipend monthly. So what I did was I told her that, the stipend, we don't do a lot of service down there, but to cover our costs and the amount of services that we do that we don't get compensated for, which are telephone calls or complaints from neighbors or somebody just looking to put a business in. Those are dollars and hours that we're not getting paid for necessarily because we're going on site for these other permits and issues. So I recommended to them that we look to move that up to $500 per month stipend. So move it from 3 to 500. And then move the hourly rate on myself from $50 to $75. I don't typically do a ton of work on these projects for them. I do a little bit of oversight sometimes when it's a little bit complex for Ray. He'll hand it off to me and I'll do a little bit of work and it might be a half an hour of my time or so. Most of the time is Ray's and we're already getting that $50 an hour from Ray, which covers his costs on top of the stipend. So we felt that was fair to leave her at the $50 for the time being. They were more than happy with our services. They want to maintain it and continue. And this is a win-win for us because we're going to get better at covering our costs, generate a little more revenue for the general fund.
Is Co-Township one of the ones that is more involved in business development and all that?
They're
stuff?
not really. They're primarily an agricultural community outside of Shepherd. Well, Shepherd has its own zoning, so we don't do anything in Shepherd.
That's so
So it is.
Village of Shepherd, Co-Township,
Yep.
all in the same place.
Yep.
Seems
So
like overlap to me,
they-
like.
They are
Success of
100% agriculture around the outskirts, but they did have that turbine project come in, which
Uh-huh.
we were very instrumental in assisting them with. I do think they're on the verge of a solar project coming their way,
Mhm.
as well as potentially more turbines going up.
Cool.
There's
I
been
always
some
wondered why there
discussions.
weren't more turbines
Yeah,
going up.
they split that project between Pine River Township and Gratiot County and Co Township.
Mhm.
And they had talked about putting more in. I think right now the solar is a little bit bang for their buck. So they're moving most of it towards solar and their concentration is solar. So I do see more coming in for them.
Plus, they must have grid lines that go right into the grid and all that.
Yeah,
Really
they ran a whole, they built a substation down in Alma. If you've been down 127 and seen the new solar that's
Yeah,
going
I
into
did
North Alma,
yesterday.
their substation is like about a half mile or so to the southwest of that, on the other side of the road. And so they built new lines all the way up the railroad up into Co Township. So all that new high power lines
Mhm.
that they're able to tie into that gets to the substation was all built for that purpose. So they have it, again, they have the capacity in place, just like the project going in Isabella Township. There's capacity within an existing substation that they're just backfilling with solar right now.
Wow, that's
Which
really
is-
advantageous
Yep,
for the
Yep,
project.
very
right?
much so. Yep,
Cut down the cost, I'm
Yep.
sure.
yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So this, we're just looking at the board authorizing the chair to sign this amendment so that we can charge those fees effective as soon as it's.
Have you had other townships come to you?
We have not had other townships come to us.
The one that hits me is, it would like Isabella come to us?
Lake Isabella?
No.
Isabella Township.
Township.
Isabella Township is with us.
Okay.
Yeah, so Isabella, so the townships that are currently not with us are Co Township. Let me put on my thinking hat here for a minute. Co Township, Fremont Township, Chippewa Township, Union. And Wise. And that's it. So we have 10 of the 16 with us. Union Township is an animal that's chartered. They'll never come with us. The others could come with us. The Fremont's, Wise is that group. They just feel like they're doing it good enough and there's so little development there. I think the reason.
Well, I've had some cannabis growing and all that stuff.
Yes, they do. Yep. They have, I think, 2 grow facilities and a retail, I think, up there. But the Co Township, because of being on US 127 and
Mhm.
because of Shepherd, they get a little more, there's a little more visibility there. So those townships want in as part of well, I don't want to say doing the right thing, but following their land use policy to a T. The other townships don't always do their amendments right and those kinds of things, and we've tried to help them over the years. It's beneficial if they were to come in and do it with us because we have the expertise to be able to make sure that they're protected from a liability standpoint, but they really like that local control, and I can't blame them for it.
Especially
But
Wise.
it's their choice. So they
Sure.
are, but those others like Isabella, Nottawa, I think everything in your district except your Wise too, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, everything but Wise is in the county's jurisdiction for zoning.
Vernon Gilmore.
Yep, Vernon, Gilmore, Coldwater, Sherman, Nottawa. Denver is in. So Co Township is in. We don't really like doing another township zoning for them. And here's the reason why is they have a zoning ordinance that's totally different than ours. There's a lot more potential for us, for us to make a mistake because we do ours and the document's this thick and we have to, ensure that we're telling them the right thing. And if they have different regulations in theirs and we accidentally impose our regulation within their jurisdiction, we've messed up. And so it's complex. So to take more on, we've always encouraged them, if you want to get in, roll in. And we told Co this, we'll do this for a while for you, but we'd ultimately like you to roll in. We had to talk about it a few years later. They don't want to roll into county zoning at all. They want to keep their local control. And we've just continued to provide that service then for them. So it's complex for us.
Does each township have different regulations?
They
or-
can, those that are on their
Oh,
own, gotta have their own. So they have to have their own plan.
Yeah.
And they have to
of
have
course.
their own zoning ordinance. And their zoning ordinance, like between Lincoln and Co., you could have different regulations for the same person living in an agricultural area right across the street from one another. Now,
Man.
you can have that at our county boundary as well, right, from county to county. But within your community, when you got 16 towns, it just like, it just doesn't make much sense to me, but that's the way it's always sort of been here, and we've talked about it before, and most of the townships that are on their own currently are pretty steadfast in having that local control and keeping it that way.
Okay. Answer my question.
Yeah, in a long way, I apologize for that.
That's all right. It's very interesting. Very,
Learned something.
can
every
be
day.
problematic, I'm sure.
Yes, so this is just simply increasing the monthly stipend from 300 to 500 and then changing the rate of pay for my services from $50 to $75 an hour.
Okay. That's pretty straightforward.
Okay. All right, consider approving the Co-Township intergovernmental agreement amendment and authorize board chair to sign the same.
Support. It's been moved and supported to move item 5 to the work of regular sessions of the county commission next week. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. Item 5 will be forwarded to next week's county meetings. Okay, thank you, Tim. Announcements, any announcements?
Nope.
I'll just say I went to the Health and Human Services Committee meeting yesterday. They said that the session will probably go into June, like the last part of June. So that's good, because I have a legislative day late in May, and I was, wow, it's still gonna be open, because that was a kind of question for a while.
Sure, yeah.
It's the shortest one for a while. Seems like a lot of the governors priorities are gonna be holding in the budget.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? I'll be glad to adjourn the meeting of the Human Resources and Public Works.
Call to the public?
Oh, public, sorry.
There is no one at this
Sorry,
time,
public.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Even Shoemaker dropped off.
Oh, okay.